Mathematically, economically, logically, we will be right. And it's disheartening. I understand that. I get it. But you have to have strong fingertips. You have to trust your gut. You have to realize this is a very high stakes game. Big money is going to do all they can to throw demand off the bull. They don't want to be challenged for what they're trying to do. And I'll just simply say to you, when the most well-funded, well-informed people on the planet continue to drain the COMEX, continue to take metals off the London Metals Exchange, and now are backdooring SLV and GLD, they are running out of ways to continue to take possession without it becoming really, really noticed, without it really affecting the price.
This is Donegan Kaiser, founder of Liberty and Finance. I'm now a licensed gold and silver dealer with Miles Franklin. Call me directly for the physical gold and silver that you need at the best price with personalized, private service from one of the oldest and best respected companies in the business. 30 years strong, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, 0 complaints, licensed and bonded, insured delivery or vault storage or IRAs, excellent prices, privacy and confidentiality, pay by check, money order, ACH or wire, satisfaction guaranteed. Call me directly at 419-819-9209 or my associate at 310-562-6400 or email us at kaiser@milesfranklin.com. Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We have a returning guest. Andy Schectman is the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, and he's joining us this Tuesday, March 9th, 2021. Andy, thanks for coming back on.
Nice to see you again, Donegan. Thanks for having me.
Our viewers always look to your advice of what the action is on the ground within the supply chain of the precious metals industry, and also they trust you because you trust your gut and you encourage them to do the same. So could we do a gut check first and let us know what are the main things that are occurring to you or that you're perceiving, because you watch this entire situation from a very holistic approach, and from you talk to numerous suppliers. You talk to even small coin shops and large coin shops. You talk to nationwide distributors. You talk to contacts at the mint. You put it all together in your mind and you come up with a gut feeling for what the situation is and the direction that it's headed. So can you give us kind of Andy's gut check on this weekly market update?
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Putting it all together, you have massive physical demand. But let's just talk for one brief second about the pullback we've seen in silver, really, for quite some time now, for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long it's been. There were 90 million ounces delivered off of the back end of SLV over the last couple of weeks. Now, the only people that can take silver out of SLV are the authorized participants. This would be the big commercial banks like Goldman and JP and Citi, and the authorized participants who fund the SLV trust. So here you had the most silver ever going into SLV ever those last few days, the first few days of February. Then we had 2 years worth of global mine supply dumped onto the marketplace in thinly traded session called the access market in between the London close and the New York open February 1st. That's 1.5 billion ounces. That's criminal, and the trader ought to be prosecuted and fired at very least. But it was done for effect. And since that day, we've seen a uphill battle that silver has faced with continuing short selling by the big banks, knocking the price down, keeping it on the mat, not letting it get up. But while that has happened, while price has controlled the narrative, you saw 90 million ounces delivered off of SLV. This is a huge amount of silver. This last delivery month on COMEX, so far, 50 million ounces has been taken off. We expect about another 5 million based upon what's still left in open interest through the end of the delivery month. That's the second biggest delivery month ever on COMEX in silver. We've been talking about this. I've been talking about this for a very long time. This group called the Others that are making a concerted effort to drain the COMEX, to drain the LBMA, to take possession of metal, to get it, to front run it before it becomes obvious it's a thing to do. And they're using the manipulated price as their cover. So they drive down the price and then they take massive amounts off of SLV, off of COMEX. And also we saw a tremendous amount shifted for the exchange for physical program that we see on the London Metals Exchange. So we see the common narrative, continually pulling metal off. The month before, huge amounts of gold were delivered off of COMEX. The biggest, most influential money in the world is front running what's coming. And they are using the price that people are so affected by emotionally, which they shouldn't be, but they are, it's human nature, to take massive possession without competition and to do it in a very clandestine manner. You know, Ted Butler was the one who always talked about big money pulling money off of SLV. J.P. Morgan was the one he would always say that's one of the ways that they accumulated so much silver without anyone noticing, because they can pull it off of SLV without it going on the COMEX report. No one really knows what happened. It's very private. Put it all together. 90 million ounces off of SLV, 50 to 55 million off of COMEX, a tremendous amount in exchange for physical off the London Metals Exchange, and a ton of silver or gold taken off in February. So what does that mean? That means that the price on the ground means nothing when the most influential and well-informed traders on the planet are massively draining the exchanges through delivery. That is the only thing you need to know. And it's the old don't do as I say, do as I do. This is the exact reason to do it. Now, closer down to earth where we are, we see a continuing difficulty in obtaining product. We just bought 50,000 ounces of silver kangaroos at the largest premium I've ever paid, and I had to go out into April to get them. So we're buying stuff. We're paying a month or two in advance. We're paying huge premiums, and that's the only way we've been able to secure product moving forward in an environment where it's so difficult to try to estimate what it's going to look like. In fact, I believe that for 2021, if I had to guess, our product will be dominated by the UK Britannia and the Australian kangaroo. To me, those are the easiest ones to come by. They've been the best performing, at least in terms of communication between the sovereign mints and us. You got the U.S. mint and the Canadian mint, which have been the model of inefficiency. You have the Rand mint, which is so-so in terms of getting product in a timely and orderly fashion. So our choices of the 6 major mints are dwindling rapidly. And the Austrian mint, while they were great the first quarter so far, it's getting tougher to secure product into quarter 2 with them. And then, of course, they say there's no bull market like a precious metals bull market because nobody sells. Everyone is hanging on tight because they're concerned about what's coming down the road. Less concerned about the price, more concerned about what's coming down the road. And, there are a million things that we could talk about, which I won't bore you with now, which lead me to believe that's part of the big picture. Maybe the biggest being, yield curve control. It's coming. They can't let rates go any higher than they are, or we're going to start paying more in just covering the interest expense on the loan, on the debt rather, than we take in tax revenue. So there's a million reasons why gold and silver should be performing better than they are. But when you take a step back and say, in this environment, the wealthiest, most well-informed people on the planet are taking huge deliveries month after month in a very clandestine, private manner, what does that say to you? It's misdirection again. They are finding more and more clever ways, we've talked about that for over a year, to misdirect the public through price while they scoop up the physical when everyone's looking over here. And I think it's not changing. In fact, I think it will continue to dominate the narrative moving forward until there's no bid, until there's no product left for these big money centers to continue to buy. And at that point, they'll let it run to the upside as much as they did holding it down. They'll make more money up than they did holding it down on the downside.
Misdirection that you've described, you've talked about the art of war and how that's not a new tactic. That's a strategy that's been used for millennia, but it's still bewildering to many people. I speak with clients every day who call me and saying, well, looks like this is going to go on forever. It looks like I either made a mistake buying physical because now the price is down, or it looks like I shouldn't buy any because the price is still going down, so that's probably what's going to continue to happen. So it seems to be a very effective method of getting people to not take action, while those who have the power to do so are taking action and doing so on the side.
31 years I've been doing this, Dunnigan, and I still am affected by it. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't, because the counterintuitive nature of it. You feel smarter than everyone when you can see things clearly yourself and take action, accountability and action, not following the herd. And you think, geez, how do people not see what I'm seeing? How do people not see what's happening to the currency and to the economy and to the social fabric of this country? And how can people just have all their money in equities and bonds? They're crazy, right? And then they're proven right and you're proven wrong. Or are you? I mean, that's a question. Or are you? I don't know how to answer that other than to simply say, I don't believe we're wrong. I think that life is a circle. And, you pick one point on that circle and you might be wrong. But before it makes its full circle, we'll see who's wrong. Mathematically, economically, logically, we will be right. And it's disheartening. I understand that. I get it. But you have to have strong fingertips. You have to trust your gut. You have to realize this is a very high stakes game. Big money is going to do all they can to throw demand off the bull. They don't want to be challenged for what they're trying to do. And I'll just simply say to you, when the most well-funded, well-informed people on the planet continue to drain the COMEX, continue to take metals off the London Metals Exchange, and now are backdooring SLV and GLD, they are running out of ways to continue to take possession without it becoming really, really noticed, without it really affecting the price. So it's more of the same thing. You have to hang on. You got to play the long game. And that's what this is. Doesn't make it any easier, but it also is not logical what's happening. It is counterintuitive. And before it's all said and done, Mother Nature will win this one. And as long as people have strong enough fingertips to hang on and not throw in the towel, they'll be glad they did. Remember, this is wealth. This is not an investment. Investments you look at and you should be more concerned about your money, your wealth. Put it away and don't look at it. Keep it in your safe. Keep it in wherever you're holding it, and don't look at it. And don't look at the price when it gets like this. When you know it's so manipulated, when you know it's so counterintuitive, just take a step back. And it makes it a whole lot easier when you realize that the big money is at the same time that the price is going down, taking massive delivery of it. They're using the price and the rhetoric to keep people from crowding them out of a very thinly traded market.
Something you just said rang a real bell for me, and that was we've talked forever with different bank, like Alistair MacLeod, former bank president, and others who are analysts in the financial space, and they talk about fiat currencies such as the U.S. dollar, and now all currencies around the world backed by nothing. And they've talked about that the only thing that's really behind it is the faith and credit. It's this sentiment. It's this emotional confidence that people give, that ordinary people on the street, both people like us at the retail level as well as business owners and so on, give to the currency. And you made me think about this, and they said that the demise of that currency comes when there's a failure of confidence, there's a loss of confidence. And the vote of no confidence that people have is they flock out into anything real other than the currency. But on the flip side here, you're pointing out that there's a concerted effort to prevent people from having confidence in metals from the point of these large, elite, well-informed, very deep financially backed forces very much would like us to have low confidence in real things and continue to have all the confidence deflected off into the currency that's backed by nothing.
Well, how do you explain 2 years worth of mine supply dumped at the open? That's exactly what they did at a time when demand was never stronger in 31 years of my career. That is exactly it. But when we talk about loss of confidence, look what's happening to the 10-year Treasury. I would argue the fact that the yields have gone up as much as they have is simply saying that there's a loss of confidence in the 10-year Treasury. What happens when it's completely abandoned? Who's going to be the only one buying the Treasury? Well, it's the Federal Reserve. And if they cap yields, that means you're going to have massive, massive money creation. The Treasury is talking about, 1.9 trillion that we just got with Biden. We got the Janet Yellen saying, let's go big. You got the IMF saying to every country on the planet, spend, spend, spend. You have this common thread of spending and money creation, and you have yields, nominal yields that are going to be capped, which means with lots of inflation and real yields or nominal yields capped, real yields are going to drop. What better environment could you have for precious metals than a highly inflationary period where yields are capped? And you have, in essence, a negative real interest rate. And as Rick Rule has always
Mm-hmm.
talked about, the precious metals have forever to go until you see the rate that you're getting, the nominal and real rate, above the level of inflation. Well, we are so far below that right now. There is really, you couldn't set up or draw up a better backdrop for precious metals. And this is why they're doing it. They will get crowded out of their trade, will exacerbate the exodus out of currency. It is killing the canary in the mine shaft. Does it mean that the fundamentals on precious metals have changed? No, it just means that they're providing you a better entry point, a subsidy for
Mm-hmm.
entry. If I didn't see the amount of massive delivery coming from the wealthiest people in the world, people who have the ability to spend millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars and take possession off of the exchanges, I would be less convinced. But when you see that this has been going on continually and unabated and continuing, and now having to go to great lengths to hide what they're doing by backdooring SLV and GLD, by doing exchange for physical, um, I'm more convinced than ever. And it's easy for me to say that, maybe, but I'm being dead serious. I have never been more convinced that the price of gold and silver will go higher than anyone thinks possible, because the wealthiest people in the world always win. The rule makers, they win because they front run and they know the decision and they know the trend, and they're front running all of us as we're bummed out by gold and silver falling by a few percent. Shouldn't be. Should look at it as an opportunity and a subsidy, as far as I'm concerned, in this environment.
Another thing you just said just triggered a vivid memory for me, and that's in stocks. When people want to know what direction the leadership of a company, who are the most aware of the forward planning of the company, the insiders who really have the strategic vision, they know what's coming up, quarters and even years ahead in terms of their competitive posture and that sort of thing. They want to go look at the annual report. Sure. They want to go look at the quarterly filings and see what the insiders are doing. They want to say,
are they buying or selling?
Are they buying or selling? They may be off there talking a good line, but if all the C-suite staff are all dumping their shares while they're talking to the company up, as you say, do what they do, not what they say. So that just rang a bell. It's like, oh, this is not a new game at all.
I just think people need to try to be less emotional about this, and it's hard to do. I understand that. I wouldn't sit here and say these things. I mean, I'm pretty out there and visible, and I wouldn't ruin my 31-year career by telling people to do what I completely felt was wrong and immoral. In fact, quite to the contrary. I sleep very well at night, hoping that I'm helping, doing the exact same thing myself. And, if the ship goes down, I'll be captain of the ship. I'll be down the first one underwater. But I don't think we will be. And quite to the contrary, I think anyone who is fully invested in dollars and is ignoring what is a seminal moment in history in this country, I think they're making a big mistake. And I think that the smart money has been positioning for this for 4 years, since 2017. I won't rehash what we've talked about many times about all of the repositioning since 2017, starting with the Bundesbank, but it hasn't stopped. And the people now who are draining the COMEX are the sovereign wealth funds, and the people in the know. You don't see people taking possession of that kind of quantity, 90 million ounces of silver off of SLV, 50 to 55 million off of COMEX this month. I mean, these are massive amounts. Last year, when 300 plus million ounces were delivered in silver off of COMEX, that was the largest ever. That was a decade's worth of deliveries. And now in one delivery month, we see 50 to 55,000. And it probably would have been more, but I think the COMEX got mad and said, you can't do this to some people. We don't want this to happen. And that's why you saw so much in the form of exchange for physical this last month. They're finding every single way to pull metal off the exchange without it raising too much attention. And, you mentioned Alasdair Macleod. I don't miss a show, whether it be on your channel or anyone else's. I find him to be as enlightening as anyone I've ever listened to. And I encourage everyone out there to go back and listen to the show you just posted the other day from him. He's as brilliant as they come. And he's right. He's saying the same things, maybe a little bit more eloquently than I am. And with that British accent, it even sounds better. So always. I think he's as good as it gets. But listen to a guy like him. He'll tell you exactly what's happening. And I learned a lot of what I talk about from listening to him. And I'll often play his podcast 3, 4, 5 times on a walk or something over and over and over and over again, because intellect like that has to sink in. And these are gifts that you're giving people. And I hope they take the time to listen. This is a once in a generational opportunity, either to sink or swim. Guy like Alistair will be the one on the life raft, and I think we should all jump on with him.
Yeah, that's something that really troubles me. You talked about sleeping well at night. One thing that I strive to do, and I know you're striving to do as well, is to try to reach as many people as possible. I think about the people who have retirement that they've worked all their lives for. Sometimes it's generations. This has been, if they did get an inheritance from their parents or their grandparents, that kind of thing, and if those are unprotected in stocks, bonds, normal real estate that are all in all-time record bubble territory evaluations, how vulnerable so many people are. And that's one of the things. Alistair's last talk was very sobering. He got very philosophical in the last 5 minutes of the interview with him that we posted last night, and he really did. I would encourage people to take in that interview, because it really gets you to think about how exposed we really are if we don't take protective steps for our family and for our children and grandchildren's sake. So, okay, we only have a couple minutes left, actually less than that. So can you just hit us quickly? We're thinking we might want to re-up the same special that we did last week, because there's been such a strong response to the 90% silver constitutional dimes, quarters, and half dollars. So can you recap for people what our status is on inventory on that and pricing?
Yeah, so we're going to continue to run the same special at $6.25 over on the dimes and quarters and $7.25 over on the half dollars. Look, I mean, go look at all the cheap online companies. We're as much as $3 to $5 an ounce cheaper. I meant it when I said, when I first started on your show over a year ago, that I will do the best I can to provide the best price in the United States. We're not as convenient as clicking a mouse, but I'll hold true to it, and we'll continue to offer the best price in the country. We are considerably less money than anyone on the 90% constitutional. We'll continue to offer it until it's gone. Some of it is about 7 days out. It's on its way into me right now. When we get these bags, which I'll have in the next few days, we have to actually open them up, run them through counting machines, make sure that they are all pre-65. It's kind of a big chore. We can't just take the bags and send them right back out. We have our responsibility is to make sure that what we just bought is what we paid for, and what people are going to buy from us is what they are paying for. So that takes a few days. So I expect to have the bags in-house in the next day or two, but it takes a couple of days to sort them, repackage them, and send them out. We'll continue to offer it, both half dollars and the dimes and quarters, because I think it's as good of a value as you'll find anywhere else. When I started in this industry, we used to always say that every family member should have one bag of silver. If every family member had a bag of junk silver, you'd be fine forever in terms of what if. And I don't have to tell you how important what if is. That's been, your whole career is about what if and preparation. So we'll continue to do that. And I think it's probably the best choice right now. Based upon the way things look and based upon how good of a price we were able to secure on this stuff. And instead of doing what everyone else is doing, pushing the price much higher by $3, $4 an ounce, we'll offer it at the best price in the country for your listeners until it's all sold out. So I anticipate being able to offer it at least through the rest of the week here without any problems with the supply.
Well, Andy, always appreciate your visits here. And if people need to ask you a specific question, there's tons of questions, and really soon we need to do a question and answer show, because I get questions every week from people that I think I've been batching them up, and we should probably take some time when we have more time to really do a bunch of questions and answers like we
I
used to.
love the Q&A.
Yeah.
I would be happy anytime you'd like. You can call me spur of the moment. I'll jump on and do a Q&A. I love it. I think they're the best way. They're engaging and off the cuff, not prepared. I like that the best.
Well, we're very grateful for your visits here with us on these weekly market updates. And just on behalf of everyone who watches Liberty and Finance, all of our viewers, thanks for joining us again.
I'm grateful for being able to be here and for your trust in me and your listeners. And I will always do my best to never let you or anyone else down. Thank you for having me. I look forward to doing the Q&A. And if not before, we'll see you next week.
If you've decided that now is the right time for you to protect your family's financial future by acquiring physical precious metals, gold and silver. I'm delighted to let you know that I have now become a licensed dealer's representative for Miles Franklin, one of the oldest and most trusted names in bullion dealerships. And we can provide you with physical delivery to your personal possession or to professional vault storage or precious metals IRAs. Just email me at libertyandfinance@protonmail.com, and please include your name and phone number in your email to libertyandfinance@protonmail.com. We'll get right back with you and find out how to best meet your needs so that you can either begin or increase your acquisition of physical precious metals now and protect your family's future starting today. To acquire gold and silver, just go to libertyandfinance.com. When the main site comes up, click on Bullion Sales. That's libertyandfinance.com, Bullion Sales. You'll see my name, Dunnigan Kaiser, my phone number, and my associate, Kaiser Johnson, his phone number, our email, libertyandfinance@protonmail.com.